Linda. Glad to have you back. Today I'm redoing this old video that I made a couple years ago with a different program. And I noticed that there was a lot of writing in there and no words. So I decided to redo it for you so you can see it better. I think it's so pretty. It's called Springtime Blossoms. And I think you're going to love it. Pretty easy to do, actually. That's why I wanted to redo it so you could watch it. So if you want to paint, follow along, that'd be great. So let's get started. And here are the oil paints I used. Liquid white, titanium white, phthalo blue, black, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, cad yellow, and red. And I coated my canvas totally with a very, very thin coat of liquid white. So now I've gone into phthalo blue and I'm going about maybe not quite all the way, but leave at least a 5-inch space at the bottom. And I'm adding a little bit of alizarin crimson here and there, just putting it in amongst the blue clouds. The blues and the pinks will make a real pretty lavender, so you don't have to worry about any weird colors showing up. So I'm adding a tiny bit of little alizarin crimson here and there among the clouds, some darker areas, some lighter. And I'm just softening those up as I go, circular motions. The corners I'm going to leave a little bit darker. Alizarin, just softening, a lot of softening here. It's okay, so I've made some darker pinks and some darker blues in there, just buffing it all out with a nice blender brush. So now I'm going to make some clouds. Got a fan brush, circular motions. You can make as many as you want. I'm going to go in after this and smooth out the bottom portions of the white, trying to leave some of those edges on the top alone. But I'm going to be buffing out, blending that white in. And then I lift up. Okay, I've got my clouds in. I'm going to do my horizon line. I've got some Van Dyke brown. And I'm just making a thin line there whereabouts I want my trees to start. I've got a little dip in there. That's where the line of trees is gonna kind of dip in there. In my path, I've got a little pathway I'm gonna put in there too. So, but I'm just etching that out. All right, so I've got some Van Dyke brown, and I'm gonna start tapping. I've got a round brush, just using a lot of that brown I just put on the horizon line there. But I'm adding some darker areas and working my way up. I've got some yellow ochre that I've kind of dipped my brush in, so the tops are going to be a little bit lighter. Just tapping in a nice row of background trees, following that little dip. Just tapping upwards. And some will be darker, that's fine. Okay, I've got my background trees. I'm adding some more Van Dyke brown in the front of that. Just kind of separate the two. The ones are farther back, so I want them lighter in color. Just like the tops, I just make my little trees tapping. So I've got a small brush. You can use a 1 inch, but I'm going to start putting in my background for my grasses and the lay of the land. So I'm going to kind of shape that. There's going to be a hill. It's going to be downward there, and then the one on the other side is going to kind of go up. So I'm just blending in some brown. Doesn't have to be very heavy. It's just background color. Following the hill, coming downward. And then there's going to be a bank on both sides. So I've got some burnt sienna, and I'm burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre, but I'm just putting that right underneath that brown area because that's going to be like a sandy area. So I want to put that in there and just bring it around kind of a U shape, just shaping that bank so eventually it goes flat into the center, blending it in. A lot of blending in this one. So I want it nice and soft. On the other side, more burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre, possibly a little darker on the right there. Might even add a little red after a bit. But in the center part, I'm going to just do yellow ochre. And then I'll be bringing in and blending that all together. So it's just one nice natural flow. Just blending up, smoothing it out the best that I can. I want it nice and soft. I did follow through with yellow ochre in the back. You'll see that nice line there underneath those trees. Just trying to create my sandy area there. I'm a little slow at times here, so bear with me. Oh, there I go. I'm adding some yellow, cad yellow and white. See, I did one nice little swipe under there. I want it really crisp. And just rocking my brush back and forth, blending it, gradually blending it into that other sandy area. So now I'm ready to put in a few background trees. Got a little liner brush. I'm just going to put in a whole bunch of little, gnarly little background trees, trunks. Can add some little arms, limbs. They don't have, these aren't going to be that tall. Um, but I'll let you know when I put in some taller ones. These are going to be pretty much distant trees. Then I'll have some smaller ones in the front, just kind of clusters of them. Just working my way to the end. Gauging. I'm looking at kind of a photograph of one that my aunt had sent me. She's the one that I'm painting this for. She asked me if I could do it. I said, "Oh, I'll give it a try." All right, so now I'm on the other side, putting in some more really, uh, they're thin. They're thin, distant trees with some arms. Just adding little limbs as I go. Kind of tedious, but it's well worth it in the end. It gives it a real natural woodsy feel. And you put lots of little trees in there. Just lots of little ones in the front. Just lifting up really slightly. Not a lot of pressure on that brush. Figuring out where I want to put my next trees there. These it might be a little bit taller. Not much. All right, so I'm happy with that. And so I'm going to put in some brush. Got a little round brush. And actually it's a 1 inch, but I just tapped it in a little bit of yellow ochre and white. Just not a lot of color here, but there will be eventually. Just tapping in some bushes, leaving some of those brown areas open. Adding a little more yellow ochre with a touch of cad yellow, just to make sure they show up. All right, so I'm happy with the bushes. I'm going into a little bit of light green. It's sap green with a little touch of yellow. And I'm going to make some leaves on those distant trees that we put in there. Just tapping in even on the bushes in front. Putting a little bit more color on those trees. Just tapping ever so lightly. Don't need a lot of paint for this, for these background leaves. It's ever so subtle. All right. So I've got a 2 inch and I've dipped it in a little bit of Van Dyke or sap green and a little bit of cad yellow. And I'm going to make some grassies and little things that are growing uh, on that landscape. Just tapping ever so lightly. I think this is the fun part. Like I said, you don't need a lot of paint on your brush. So just tapping very lightly, keeping the angle of the bank. Kind of angling downward. And I will highlight these more later, but I just want to get, and then I use the end of my brush, just the corner of it to do that uh, final little touch on the ends, right at the um, base of those little hills, banks, I should say. All right, so I'm going in back. I'm going to do some more of these highlights with more cad yellow and white on the tops of the brush back there. Just tapping with the corner of my brush, ever so light. So I'm going to go in at the base of these banks. I'm going to add some dark dirt some Van Dyke brown, and just put a little of that in there. Um, and then I'll be blending it into the sand just a little bit more, but I'm just taking my little fan brush and creating maybe some darker areas on the edge of that bank. Doesn't take a whole lot, it just gives it depth. Taking a dry brush and kind of pulling some of that into the center. I got two brushes going there, a dry one and one that has a little bit of Van Dyke brown on it. I'll work the other side a little bit. Doesn't need much, but like I say, it creates depth. And I'll take the dry one and pull some of that brown down. Tapping in a little bit of red underneath there. Not much. And then pulling that down into the sand. Just tapping a little bit here and there. Don't need a lot. And kind of arcing that little um, half base, I guess. The bottom part, just give it that little arch. Adding a little red on the other side too. Pulling a little red down too on that other side. A lot of blending in this, but you know what? It looks so pretty in the end. All these different areas, lights and darks. Yeah, I think Bob Ross used to say that. Without the dark, there is no light. So I'm adding my darks, blending, shaping that bank. Brought a little more of that brown out. I tap my brush a lot. I like to keep paint off, the excess paint that comes off from the other paint that's down there. I like to keep the right colors there. And just blending that in. Downward motion. Getting my shadow areas in. Little burnt sienna on that one there. And then with the browns, it just gives it different layers of color. I've got a little blender brush. I'm going to just try and smooth that out, keeping the angles just right. Tapping taking that excess brown off, getting that angle just right, and then brushing upward. You pull some of that light in there, see how pretty that looks? Okay, I've added some more burnt sienna on the other side. Again with the blender, keeping the angles and then brushing upward. If you don't like it, keep you can keep adding. That's okay. But if you're happy with it, that's all that matters. I think I'm my worst critic. All right, so I am happy with it now. I'm adding a little bit of foliage on the very edge of that bank, just a little bit of the sap green and a little touch of yellow, just enough to make it look natural. Same on the other side, adding a few highlights. All right. So now I'm going to go at the bottom of that canvas. I'm tapping in some little grassies and little things that are growing in there. Van Dyke Brown, oh, no color yet, but I'm just doing the base work. Some taller, a little darker on the very edge of the canvas. Okay, so I'm adding a little greenery to that bottom. Sap green, a little bit of yellow here and there. Give it some color. Just tapping away there. Some higher, some heavier, some lighter. It's just it's however you want to make it. So, okay, I'm ready for my trees. I think I'm using a small round brush or a small flat brush, holding it at an angle there. And just gonna go not all the way to the top, but pretty close. And the trunk is, I would say it's fairly thick, because that's a pretty big tree right there. So I'm going to start making some arms, some limbs. You can make as many as you want, just lifting upward. Not a lot of pressure on this brush either. In fact, I lift up and I kind of twirl it with my finger just to get that nice point, thin look on the on those limbs. Just going every which way, adding little ones, reaching out. Nice, even strokes. Like I say, you can put as many as you want. Mine is going to be fairly full. Um, they're almost to the top. Not quite, but just about. And I'm just going to keep going, adding my little limbs, arms. Gonna put a bigger one there. And I'll be putting one at the base of that tree too. I don't know if you're gonna catch it here. I kind of went sped up, I put a little bit, but there it is. You see I put gnarly little branch coming out at the base of that tree. I'm working on the other side, a little bit smaller tree and narrower at the trunk. Same, same strokes, just not quite so tall. Perfecting the base a little bit. And there is a second little tree that's right along beside it. All right, so now I'm done with my two trees. I'm highlighting. Little palette knife, uh, yellow ochre with a touch of white. Just, just tapping the inside of that trunk and wherever you think the light is going to hit. I'll do the other side just as well. Using a smaller brush just to kind of blend it in a little better. All right, I'm gonna start putting blossoms on. So I started out with the leaves, and they're sap green, touch of yellow, a little, kind of an olive green, maybe a touch darker. But I am using what is this called a scruffy brush. It's a Donna Dewberry uh, scruffy, half-inch scruffy. And I got mine off of Amazon, and it's the handiest little brush. I can make the nicest little leaves. I love it. So if you don't have it though, you could probably use oh, I don't know, the corner of a fan brush, I suppose, or a real small flat brush. But this little brush makes some really nice green leaves. The big tree, some leaves are darker than others, some are lighter. And I'm putting some bushes, leaves down there close to the at the base of some of those trees. I'm adding some darker leaves in there, and on some of the smaller background trees, I'm just putting some leaves there. This is almost looks like a grove of apple blossoms or something. Maybe it's cherry blossoms, but there's a lot of blossoms that are kind of going to be in the background too. So I'm just going around putting the leaves on first. And when I'm happy with that, I'll start with the actual blossoms. And blossoms I made with alizarin crimson, not a lot. It's white with just little bit of alizarin crimson. I made a more of a darker pink, and I'm just dotting some not so much on the leaves, but around because you want some of those leaves to show. But I'm just dotting some little flowers, little dots. From a distance, they look like, blooms. So you don't have to be super fussy because there's actually three layers of these blossoms. The darker pink layer, and then I go a little bit lighter. I add more white to it, so it's a lighter pink, and then I finish it off with white. So there's three layers of the colors on those blossoms. So I'm just dotting around with this medium to dark pink. And do all those first. It's tedious, but it's well worth it. In the end, it looks really pretty. So I think I'm just using a little round brush on these here, rather than my scruffy. These are more prominent, they're a little rounder. Just making clusters on those branches. I let some of that sky show through. I didn't want to like do solid. Just here and there. And I'll tap a little bit of that dark pink on some of the bottom bushes too. Just a little. I want to get all the pink, dark pinks in first before I add my next layer. Got to figure out where they are. Background tree's got a few on. I hope you're following along with me on this. That's why I'm taking it extra slow so that but you can pause and paint with me too. I'm going to the other tree. I'm going to do the same. A person could almost use a sponge too to do these blossom, little blossoms. All right, so now I'm going to go with the next color. A little bit lighter pink. See how they show up? Just a little bit, add a little white to that dark pink that you were using. See how pretty they look? They show up really nice. Just here and there. Like I said, leave a little of the sky show through those branches. All right, so now I'm going to the other side, putting some more of that light pink on. Then I'll be adding a little bit of white here and there on some of those blossoms. I mean, you can make it really, really full, and really fill up that tree. But I wanted to leave some of that sky showing through. Putting some down below a little bit. There, I add the white. Isn't that pretty? It really, really makes them pop, doesn't it? I'm going to go down below on the grassy areas and add a few little white uh, flowers, I guess, in the distance. Aren't they pretty? Just tapping with the corner of my brush, adding some accents there. Going under that big tree a little bit, putting some grassy areas. And I go through and I add a little pink too underneath some of the, there we go, a little rose pink, because I'm sure some of those blossoms have fallen to the ground. So I want to put some in the grass. So I'm working on my front there, adding some color, putting in a little more cad yellow and white. I'm gonna put some pretty flowers in there too with the dark pink and white. You can make it however you want. See, I'm adding some color. Isn't that pretty? I really enjoyed going through this one with you, and I hope you did too. If you have any questions at all, feel free to private message me. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.